Hello everyone. In this week's video, I'm going to be talking about the coping mechanisms, the energetic patterns of fight, flight, or freeze as a way to kind of respond to life, react to life, survive in life. Hi, my name is Nancy Rebecca, and I have been working with the human energy field for over 25 years now. I'm a registered nurse and a clairvoyant, so I can see the energy field and how it responds to life. I've spent 25 years working with individuals to help them start to kind of be able to manage and get a handle on these coping mechanisms that for many of us can be so strong that it just kind of takes off with us, and it's like kind of a wild horse that takes off and that we can't seem to kind of get the reins in and be able to manage it to kind of walk or trot at a pace that's more comfortable for our human body. So this month I talked about the September frequency forecast, and Spirit really showed us in that video that I made and the blog post that I wrote that the symbol was like the cotton plant, that really hardy, really strong root system that no matter how much the wind blows, the cotton is going to stay standing straight up. How it has the pod that protects the soft cotton in the middle, and that when the beating sun comes down and really dries out the plant, that really hard casing can start to open up so that soft cotton comes out of the middle. So symbolically, what Spirit is trying to share with you and me and our community of learning is what is that pod when it comes to being a human, functioning in this third dimensional realm. So if we want to kind of view that pod and the stem of this very resilient and hardy cotton plant, and if we want to view the cotton, that soft, strong, resilient inner part of your soul that really is strong and can really bounce back and hold together. I think I was talking in the video about they have found some cotton cloth that was weaved together that's really strong when you pull on it, like this shirt that I have is a very strong, resilient cotton. That it really holds together. It keeps you strong, keeps you steady, keeps you kind of moving forward. So this month, what is that hard outer shell? So that's what these coping mechanisms are that I'm going to be talking about. So for some of you, this topic is brand new. You've never really heard those terms. When I get stressed, when I get anxious, when my life feels threatened, I might fight, or I might run for my life, or I might freeze like a scared rabbit. But psychologically, these kind of coping mechanisms have been studied for a long time. So if this is a new type of information for you, I invite you to look it up online. You can go and order books about it. There's a lot of detailed information that you can get about this from a psychological mental health standpoint. What I'm going to be talking about today is what I see happening in the energy field. So this month and moving forward for the rest of the year, we're going to be letting go of our own, we'll just call them our sharp edges that definitely served a purpose at some point in life, but maybe doesn't serve to support us very well when we are always finding ourselves kind of reacting to life. And wow, don't we have a lot to react to? So let me just kind of get into what I'm talking about here. So when you are born, this brand new, fresh little baby light, I'm gonna call it. When you are born into this world, you're like this LED light. Like your spirit is so bright that it just shines through your eyes. Your skin is very soft and beautiful. You have this beautiful kind of baby smell to you that's kind of fragrant like a flower. That's because your spirit is predominantly illuminating through your physical body. You are born into a family of coping mechanisms. Of course, your family can be a whole lot more than just coping mechanisms, but you're born to a mother who has well-developed coping survival mechanisms and a father who has well-developed coping and survival mechanisms. And then if you are born into a family of siblings, you've got siblings that have their own coping mechanisms. So the way that I look at this is kind of like you've got a family which is a whole puzzle of family pieces kind of put together for the functioning of the family. So when you are born this bright light, suddenly you've got this light that's coming into the family, and all those puzzle pieces, they get kind of pushed out, they have to shift, they have to adapt, they change shape so that they can accommodate your light. So for some families that seem to be doing really well, your light comes in. So for some families, they can become stronger, that it's very healing. Your light can be very healing, very uplifting, very expanding, and lots of good things can start happening to the family and their life. So it can be quite fun for you to kind of go back to see when you were born and see if you can find out the history from your family about what events happened after your birth. For others, your bright light is so bright, and if some of your family members have some really kind of stuck or strong coping mechanisms, and now your lights come in to kind of shake it up, some of the kind of shadow aspects of the family can rise to the surface. And so some family members, you might have a parent that is not able to handle the bright light. Their stuff comes up, they get triggered. So sometimes parents can get a divorce after you're born, or they might lose a job, or they might struggle and have some problems for a few years as they are adapting to your new vibrational frequency that you've brought to the family. You, as that new little infant, is going to be able to hold that bright light for probably a good solid 3 years, like the first 3 years of your life, and for some all the way up to 9, 10, 11 years old, before you really start kind of integrating some coping mechanisms to survive. What I have found is for you to be able to hold that really solid light, you've got a pretty stable family that you've come into, and you've got a pretty stable family that encourages you to be your unique self. But I also know from my clients that I've seen that doesn't happen very often. Everybody's kind of has an agenda. If you just think about your own life, do you have an agenda with your spouse? Do you have an agenda with your children? Do you have an agenda with yourself? Do you have an agenda with your parents? Do you think your parents should behave in certain ways that they're not, and so you hold on to these resentments? So all of these things are normal. We are here on this earthly plane to learn earthly lessons. This is not a perfect world. It was never meant to be perfect, because you learn through adversity. You learn through dichotomies. This is the third dimensional world. Your spirit does not learn through dichotomies. Your spirit believes that we are all one, that we are all beautiful, that we are all bright lights, that we all deserve to be and grow into our own unique selves. So as you are starting to grow up in your family, you're going to be kind of watching, how does your mother cope with life? How does your father cope with life? As you get a little bit older, how do your friends cope with life? How do your spouses cope with life? So you're going to either adopt those similar coping mechanisms as your parents, or you're going to say, that's not working very well. I think I'm going to create my own way to survive in life. So remember, this is all, we are born to survive, and now we are moving into a state, especially these next 3 months, pretty hardcore, and then into the year 2022, 2023, 2024, we're going to be just shedding more so that we can become more of that fifth dimensional light. Almost remember like that new little baby, you know, your eyes are bright, your skin smells beautiful, you've got this soft skin. Like as your spirit starts to move more into your body, you're going to notice this inner strength, resilience coming back through the form of your spirit. So let me talk about the subject that I'm going to talk about today. So when you get triggered, that means you get bothered, you get triggered. There's three main responses that most people know about. One is to get angry, the other one is to run away, avoid conflict, and the other one is to freeze, like I said, like the rabbit. And I'm going to go through all three of these specifically. But there's one thing that all of those patterns have in common, and the pattern that they have in common is in all three situations, the spirit, your spirit leaves your body. So your spirit goes up and out of the body, and your whole energy field is pow, 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 is reacting. It's like ba, 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 very, very, very quickly. And so for some of you in extreme situations, you can be right in the middle of having this reactive response, and you can't seem to manage it no matter how much your mind is trying to override those strong reactive emotions. Over time, which is what's happening now, as the cotton plant, expands and becomes healthy and resilient, over time, as more of your spirit comes into your body, you'll find it much easier to be able to manage. When your spirit's in your body, you can manage those energies so you can respond to them. When you're out of your body, you can't manage it and you react to those things. There was something that I really wanted to share about that. So you leave your body. Oh, I know what it was. And when your spirit is in your body, did you know, because I teach about intuition, and I teach about intuition with psychic precision. Once you start to really cultivate your intuitive psychic abilities, you're going to know even like 3 days beforehand that some event is about ready to happen. It's like, okay, I'm going to visit my family and I can feel this event's going to be supercharged. I can feel that all my coping mechanisms are going to get triggered left, right, and center. So when you have that intuitive hit, the beauty about it is you can start to dismantle the triggers before the event happens. But that's kind of a whole nother story right now, but that's where you are going. That's where you are growing. So you can be quite excited about that. So it's about letting go of the old coping mechanisms that are more of a hindrance than a help, getting more of your spirit into your body. So I made lots of notes here. So let's talk about fighting as a coping mechanism. Remember, fight, flight, or freeze. Fighting can be a range of responses. So let me kind of talk about some of these ranges. Number one, you might fight by walking into a room and looking for something that's wrong. You start looking around and it's like you're searching for a fight. You're searching for an argument. You're wanting someone to just say the wrong thing. Just give me an opportunity. Say the wrong thing so I can react with anger, so that I can start fighting you, so that I can start breaking it down for you. And why do you do this energetically? Because your body wants to run the red energy, that powerful energy that we call anger, we call rage. It's a really cleansing energy. So a lot of times your body, through meditation, only wants to meditate with a red energy to help kind of dissolve some harsh old coping mechanisms or reactive mechanisms. But we as humans think, oh, but before I can get mad, I have to have something to get mad about. So you start searching for a reason to get mad. So notice next time you're going somewhere, so I'm looking, I'm trying to find something to trigger me. So can you believe it? You don't get triggered, you look for a trigger. So that's one of a fighting mechanism. and your third chakra flies open so that you become dominant. Because remember, your third chakra is the power center. So it'll fly open because you want to have the largest energy in the room. And then that red just kind of surges, courses through all the veins of your body like this energy field. The fight sets you up and to let everybody know in the room you are not to be messed with. So why do you do this? Again, you are needing to cope, you're needing to run some red, and you're looking for a fight to give you an excuse to do that. If you just meditate and run your red energy, you can save a lot of messes that you have to clean up later. All right, number 2, I call it the shark attack. In this fight response, you will find the weakest energy field in the room, the weakest energy field in the office, the weakest energy field at a party, because you want to go after the weakest link so you can take them down. I call this the shark response because sharks can smell when a fish is in distress miles away. And then the shark will go to that fish because they're easy prey, they're easy to take down. And then why do you do this? Because if you can take down, cut down, dismantle the weakest person in the room, it's called a bully, then you kind of feel a little bit stronger. You feel a little bit more powerful. Your head's up, your shoulders are back, and you're like strutting around the room. Why do you do this? Because you're mad at somebody else that took advantage of you, and you want that red to flow. You want that red to flow so you can clear that out. And so that's a pattern you usually picked up from another person where you may have been, somebody may have been the shark to you, and now you've picked up that pattern and you look, I'm going to take you down before you can take me down. Number 3, fight response, cornered wildcat response is what I call it. This individual, you or someone, an individual can be the nicest person in the room, but if they feel targeted, if they feel cornered, picked on, they can come out with the claws sharpened and ready to go. And they want to take down everybody in the room, not just the weakest, not just the strongest. Nobody is safe when you have this wildcat fight response. And in the wildcat response, I always say no one is immune, because that person's going to say, you know, you did this, you did that, you're horrible, you're insecure, you think you're so cute, but you're not so cute. See, the claws are out, and I say everybody's going to be bloodied. Nobody's going to be saved from this person when they feel threatened. When someone has the wildcat response, they usually do have a lot of pretty extreme trauma from their past, where they really feel that it's life or death. So again, this is a very reactive response. Number 4, I call the blind murderous rage response. You will rarely see this until the person experiences the final last straw. So they can be really nice, they can manage things pretty well, but they keep stuffing their anger. Oh, everything's okay. Yeah, no, it doesn't really matter to me. No, I don't really have an opinion on this. No, 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 everything's just fine. They keep stuffing the anger, stuffing the anger, stuffing the anger until there's this volcanic explosion. Once this happens to you, your whole energy field seems to kind of shatter. It can take a while, weeks, months, maybe even a year, if you have that big of an explosive response, to be able to kind of pull your energy back together again. I always say kind of like Humpty Dumpty that fell off the wall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. And if this has ever happened to you, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about, because you're never the same person afterwards. When you finally let yourself have that big of an explosion, you might be pulling out all kinds of things from the past. That rage just feels like the only thing that's going to feel better is if you can really hurt somebody. and most times they don't, because they are genuinely nice people, but it can take a while for you to put yourself back together again. But once you do, you're very different. And the reason why I say that you're so different is because once you experience the power of your ability to stand up for yourself, there's no going back. You're not willing to stuff it anymore. Okay, I have a lot to share, so I'm going to keep going. So let's do flight. Flight is a coping mechanism that also has a range of responses and can be different for everybody who uses them. Number one, the person who makes excuses as a way to take flight. In this energetic situation, the person has become uncomfortable. Their spirit leaves the body because of the discomfort, and then the individual will suddenly make an excuse that they have to leave. Like 1 minute before, they were just fine and they were going to stay and have lunch and a cup of tea. They were going to help you organize your pictures in your photo album. And then suddenly they're like, oh, I forgot, I have to be somewhere. And then they leave. So that is taking flight. Avoidance is another way of taking flight. Avoiding is a way to prevent triggering to the flight response. I will say a lot of us have this issue. A lot of us kind of have created an environment where we don't move outside of our comfort zone, so we don't trigger that flight response. The individual knows from past experience that they might feel uncomfortable in a certain situation, so they will just avoid going there altogether. They avoid going to events so that they don't have to run away. This is also part of the flight response. The root chakra gets triggered into survival. Your solar plexus closes down. Your spirit leaves your body, and you want to run, you want to leave, you want to get back into your little safe bubble so that everything can calm down. And then you avoid going back into those situations so you don't have to feel it. Number three, any conflict that can spark the flight response, so the person will literally walk away or drive away in their car when the energy rises, sparking that fear that the energy might get out of control. So for that person, they may be in a room, you may be with your family, and all of a sudden you can feel the energy in the room rising. Maybe you feel like you've got two of your siblings that are starting to fight. Maybe somebody wants to have a confrontation with you or talk to you about something that bothered them that they'd like to have a conversation about. But you feel that and it's like, oh, this could get dangerous, so I'm going to leave now to keep myself safe. But again, in each of these situations, the spirit leaves the body. You have no control how you're going to react to the situation. Okay, freezing as a coping mechanism also has a range of responses and can look different to everybody who does this. It's called freeze because just like a rabbit might be hopping along and suddenly sees a wolf, it's going to freeze under, it's not even going to move its eyes, it's not even going to wiggle its nose, it's not even going to wiggle its tail. It totally freezes. So at the human level, all your chakras, just like the brakes come on, all your chakras freeze. Your aura that normally has a flow to it, it will freeze. Your root chakra is wide open, but it's almost like you can hear the ticking clock hand, second hand in the room. It's so still and so quiet because you have literally frozen to your spot. For some of you in extreme situations, you literally freeze. You cannot move. I used to be this way with dogs. Dogs used to terrify me. A dog could be in a fenced yard. I could be walking on the sidewalk past the fenced yard. The dog aggressively comes and slams its body against the fence, and I literally would stop in mid-walk and couldn't move. I had been attacked by a German Shepherd when I was a kid, had to go to the hospital to get stitches. So whenever I would have that pure freeze response, and I would be walking with people and they'd say, Nancy, come on. And I'd say, I can't move. So this would be a a real classic freeze response. In extreme cases, the individual can become catatonic. So what that means is you're trying to call their name. Come on, let's move. Let's keep walking. You're safe, but there's nobody's home. It's absent. Nobody's home. Nobody's responding to you. A robotic energy is another form of freeze. I kind of call this the Stepford wife kind of response. That's an old movie, so you'll have to leave me a note in the comment section if you know what I'm talking about. But in the Stepford Wives, they were kind of robotic, and it was like, yes, I'm fine. Would you like a cup of tea? How about I get you a sandwich? Don't worry about that mud that just got on the carpet. I will get something to clean that off. That is a freeze response. It's very robotic. You're kind of functioning, you're smiling, but nobody's home. It's like lights are out, nobody's home, because your spirit is completely out of the body. This is a coping mechanism of just doing the status quo, just going through the motions of life to feel safe, not wanting to confront, provide conflict. Yeah, kind of get what I'm saying. The freeze response is a total fear response. So freezing, when you freeze, you can just sit there while the other person, have you ever done that, where you're in a fetal position on the couch and you've got somebody just screaming at you and they're just unloading and they're just blasting your energy field with energy and blasting, and you literally, you don't get up and move, you don't blast back, you can't move, and you just hope that if you hold still enough, your aura gets pulled way into the body. If you can make yourself small enough that eventually they'll just kind of go away. What do they tell you to do in the wild if there's a bear that comes after you? It's like lay on the ground and pretend like you're dead. That's a freeze response to be safe, so the bear doesn't see you moving around and it's going to get up and move. So you will just end up sitting there listening, taking on all the energy in the room. Again, it's because your spirit has left your body and your whole energy system shuts down. All right, so I'm about ready to finish up here, but these are the things, these are coping mechanisms, and once you recognize them and you say, oh my gosh, I'm freezing, let me break that cycle and let me put both feet on the floor and let me get up and let me walk out of this room. If you are finding yourself looking for a fight, oh my goodness, I'm looking for a fight. Oh my goodness, I see that that person is feeling really weak, shy, and vulnerable right now, and I'm taking advantage of them. If you start to notice that these are energy responses, these are not soul responses. This is not who you are as a spirit. This is how your body is reacting to survive, to cope with life. But this is not coming from a place of thriving. So yes, you can have all three coping mechanisms to varying degrees. For a lot of you, you've worked through therapy, you exercise, you eat well, you sleep well, you try to be self-reflective, self-nourishing, self-supporting, self-responsibility, that you're doing all of these things. Your coping mechanisms will get smaller and smaller and smaller until they're only this tiny little reactive voice in the background. But for some of us, that voice is still really strong. But I just want to let you know, your spirit in this new vibration frequency of awakening consciousness, your spirit is beginning to shift those things. Those coping mechanisms of fight, flight, freeze to the extreme are no longer going to work for us. They're going to cause us to feel more ill. And I call it, we're going to be eating it or cleaning it up for days afterwards. So ideally, you want to catch it before it happens. You might need to leave the room. That's different being grounded with your spirit in your body, right behind your eyes, in the center of your head, and choosing to walk away until the energy can calm, that's not flight. That is making a conscious, responsive choice to walk away. It can take years to dismantle some really hard, stuck coping mechanisms. Years. So give yourself a break if you can't seem to be able to manage it pretty quickly. And dismantling old coping mechanisms usually requires someone with a high professional skill level, like a therapist, to help you find some healthier ways to cope. So if your coping mechanisms are running your life, you're not running as spirit your life, but your coping mechanisms are running your life, and you're destroying your relationships around you because of your reactions to everything, then yeah, you definitely want to maybe ask a friend, does anybody have a good reference for a therapist? But energetically, as a healer and as a psychic healer, I've been helping people for 25 years dismantle old, outdated coping mechanisms. And in all 3 of my teaching programs, all of the students learn techniques through meditation and intuitive development. They start learning, like there's a technique that's called de-energizing a stuck memory. When you get really reactive, you're going to go into meditation, you're going to ground yourself first, and then you're going to start to dismantle some of the stuck memories when you first started adopting that coping mechanism. So this month of September is all about letting go of the hard shell that helped you to grow strong and resilient. It helped you at a point in your life, but you've outgrown it and it's time to let go of it, and you're going to know if it's time to let go or not. You're going to know if it's not helping your relationships anymore and it's not helping you. So this month it's about letting go of those hard, sharp shells of protective coping mechanisms to release that you used to survive. So now your kind of inner light, your inner cotton, your inner resilience and strength can come to the surface and start functioning in healthy ways. Whew. So just be intentional, be willing to let go, be willing to learn more about how those beautiful bodies of yours are working with life. Be grateful for all the ways your body has helped you to survive, and now spiritually move to the front seat of your car, have your spirit put your hands on the steering wheel so that you can start leading your body's reactions and turn them into responses. Whew. Some good learning all this month. So thank you all for joining me here on YouTube. Please click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Please share these videos and all my other ones with your friends, with your groups. I would really appreciate that as well. And I look forward to seeing you next week. All right, bye-bye everyone.